Hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Wait, no, we aren't.
Not today.
Not today, guys, because it's our 100th episode. So, we've had a couple of emails come in, or we've had some comments come in, asking us what our favorite horror movies are and such. And we do talk a lot about horror movies when we're referencing, when we're talking about creepypastas, because so many of them draw inspiration from.
And movies are a more mainstream medium, so
it's easier to familiarize.
It's, like, we could probably bring up, like, obscure novels that we've read, but, I mean, not everyone's a reader, but everyone's seen movies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, movies are, like, the pinnacle of horror genre.
Well, and just
in this period.
Just the widest spread.
Yeah.
What everyone has.
It has such a stronger reach.
Yeah.
Because, hey, you just need to sit down and watch something on a screen.
Or not, you could just pay attention or do something else.
Yeah. No,
and have
most of my childhood was like that, just watching movies of various types and just drawing or doing something else. But yeah, so we decided for our 100th episode we were going to do our top 5 favorite horror movies and then our top 5 guilty pleasures. And of course there'll be some runner-ups for both lists.
Yeah, I mean there are some movies that just don't quite make the list, but there's something about them that there's a reason, like, and you gotta throw it out anyway. Just like, you know what, this isn't on the top 5, but I'll be damned if you shouldn't watch it anyway.
Exactly. And it's like picking your children. This was hard for us. We may be doing this episode now, but I presented like Leviathan with this like months ago.
Oh, months ago.
and he was like, "We need some time to work on this."
And then it just so happened that, a few months passed, and then, hey, look, our 100th episode's coming up. Well, I guess we should pull the trigger on that movie episode, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully this will also give people some insight onto why we recommend certain creepypastas and why some of us don't recommend.
Yes.
But unfortunately, Mikey won't be here for this episode because, well, he's a newcomer and was kind of
and we
not
here. The idea on him last minute.
Yeah. He wasn't on board when we first.
The idea for this episode was before him,
pre Mikey. Stands for evil.
So,
but yeah. So, I guess the question is, who wants to start?
Well, there's one thing I gotta say, because I put a couple of rules on myself.
Okay, yeah.
First thing I did was no movies based on Stephen King novels. I broke that rule once, because I could have...
Does that count for both of us?
No, that's for me.
Okay.
Because I could have filled the list,
yes.
like both lists, with Stephen King movies, because...
There are some that were really good, and some that were really bad.
Exactly, and I can enjoy both both of them, and it's a self-imposed rule just so that I didn't put 7 different Stephen King movie versions of his books on there, and most of the time I would have put them on because I like the book, not necessarily the movie as much.
Yeah, you got the nostalgia from the book when you were watching the movie.
So that was something I put on myself, and I think we both did this where it was horror movies, not monster movies, not necessarily monster movies, and not like thrillers or anything like that.
Yeah.
So there won't be any Silence of the Lambs on this.
No. Now, question about the monster one. Runners Up, does that count for that?
I don't care.
Okay.
Runners Up is free game, man.
Awesome. All right.
Talk about whatever the fuck you want on that.
Yeah, I have a couple that maybe have broken that rule for Runners Up just because it's like monster movies. Like the reason why we have that in is because
these rules they're soft rules. I mean, I broke the Stephen King one, and I imposed it upon myself. So,
yes. But yeah, like the reason for the monster one is because a lot of monster movies sometimes tend not to be horror movies, or at least they don't evolve. They evolve out of horror movies.
Our best example for this is a franchise that we both love, the Tremors franchise.
Yes, because
awesome monster movies.
But that
not
first
really,
one...
not scary.
Yeah, like
even
the
first one isn't really scary.
Yeah, like there's some like moments of like, what is it? Like it's mainly like leading up to the reveal of it's giant worms. But that's about the extent of the horror, because otherwise it's just a horror-themed
awesome
action-adventure movie. Yeah, exactly. Or The Mummy, the recent Mummy movies with Ben Fraser. Like, those are not horror movies. I'm sorry.
I like how we consider those recent.
Oh, yeah. Actually, did you hear what's happening? Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe are actually redoing the Mummy series.
Yeah, Universal is planning on redoing all of their classic monster movies.
Nice.
Dracula Untold was apparently supposed to be the start of that, but... based on reception, I don't think that one's going to be... Which, honestly, it's a shame. I enjoyed the movie.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good Dracula movie, but it was a fun fucking popcorn flick.
So it would be, like, similar to a guilty pleasure.
No, because I actually enjoyed the story.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was a well-done movie. It wasn't horrible.
Fair enough.
But that was my opinion on it, and apparently I was in the fucking minority.
It happens.
But anywho,
yes.
So what do you want to start with? I think we should start with the good ones.
Oh, yeah. Like, what, like top 5?
Yeah, and then go to guilty pleasures.
That's what I was figuring,
yeah, I think that'll be fun.
Do we want to do, like, one per list, or...
Yeah,
one
we'll
list
just go back and
okay.
forth. Start at 5, work your way up.
Okay.
If you want to start.
I guess I'll start, yeah. So, spoilers. My first one of my top 5 horror films is Pumpkinhead.
Alright, hold on, I gotta interject, because that's exactly where I put it, too.
Really?
Yeah. We both knew that this is going to be on both of our lists, and I guess it just kind of, like, barely made the cut.
Well, for me, Pumpkinhead, which is the story of a man who's been wronged by some adolescent partying teens and their motorcycles, when he loses his son, and goes out into the woods or bayou of his backwaters country, and makes a deal with a witch, and
because we know how well those always go.
And summons a demon creature that will take vengeance on these kids by killing them all. The problem is, every time he kills one, our lead protagonist feels all the pain of the death, and also is slowly becoming the next Pumpkinhead demon, or he's being corrupted by it with every kill. So he then has to do another. It's then a reverse, like, vengeance thing, and does, like, redemption, where he has to try and save the remaining kids from the demon he summoned, and in the process does battle with the monster. So, my first contact with Pumpkinhead was through magazines of, like, Fangoria magazine, which was a horror magazine in the 90s, and then a wax museum that had all, like, alien and monster horror movie characters. And I had to I remember saving up for about a summer worth of, like, just odd jobs and allowances to go and buy a copy of the VHS. Man, that was, like, the most gratifying thing I think I ever did in my childhood, when it comes to, like, movies or, like, getting something that I really wanted. And yeah, that movie does not disappoint. Like, it's got a ton of the classic tropes of horror movies. Like, you've got, like, the backwaters rednecky village. It's got a folkloric look to it, because there's, like, a poem apparently that was based off that the
it's
movies
actually
are based
based on an old thing. Yeah,
and, like, you get to see that, like, in play in the story, where, like, some kids are bullying another kid by telling him the boogeyman story. And then, yeah, it's the monster was made by the same guy who did the Velociraptors and Aliens prosthetics and makeup work for, like, Aliens and Jurassic Park.
More importantly, this movie was directed by the monster master himself, Stan Winston.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And has one of our favorite horror movie actors.
Just one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, just one of our favorite actors, really. Lance motherfucking Henriksen. So...
And I mean, like, even if Stan didn't have a hand in creating Pumpkinhead, you know whoever did was like, fuck, I'm creating a monster for Stan Winston's movie.
Exactly.
Like, you know whoever fucking did that, whether... Because I didn't come across the information on whether or not Stan Winston made the monster or not, or, like, had his hand in it, or if he was too busy directing, because that's a possibility. But you know that they were either Stan Winston or they were trying to live up to Stan Winston.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just, in my opinion, they fucking pulled it off. I love that monster.
Yeah.
He's just...
Yeah, it's like, you can kind of see, like, why, like, the guy who made it did, like, prosthetics and stuff like that, it was worked on other, like, similar things. Like, you can kind of see his previous work in this one. But at the same time, it creates a new monster. Like, you can kind of get a xenomorph look to it a little bit, but it's like almost like the redneck, or far removed, like hill folk version of a xenomorph. Because it's got like apparently like every like action figure thing I think I saw of it back when I was a kid, or like even some comics had it have wings, but you never actually saw those wings in the movies. It was just those giant spiny or like spine. Spikes.
I mean, I've got the...
Yeah, you actually have one, yeah.
I've got the damn toy. I'm pretty sure all it has is the spikes.
Yeah, it's just the spikes. But, I mean, I remember when I was a kid seeing, like, there were apparently some...
It's got big-ass shoulder blades, that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know, I remember seeing them with bat wings, but... Again, it was, like, in a magazine in my childhood, so...
Well, yeah. It may have just...
It may have also just been, you know, like...
Artistic license or...
But yeah, like, the monster is just... creepy and awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I would not want to walk into I would be in the middle of the woods and run into that at all.
Exactly. And, I mean, my favorite part probably in the whole damn movie is when the monster stabs. I can't remember who it was. I think it's... Oh, stab someone with a fucking shotgun.
Yeah. He takes the shotgun from the guy and then, like, uses it a different method that it should be used. But to great effect.
I was just like, damn, that must have hurt.
Yeah. Yep. So, alright. So definitely would recommend Pumpkinhead. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it, because...
Yeah.
Go find it on Netflix or some
I don't think
other...
it's on Netflix. It did get a DVD release. I think it might have even gotten a Blu-ray release.
It's definitely possible.
But it definitely got 2 separate DVD releases.
Yeah.
And it's just, honestly, it's a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
Fond memories. One of my friends had it, and he's like, lent it to me, he's like, you've got to watch this movie. I was like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's always like that kind of scenario.
So, yeah, it was brilliant, in my opinion. I don't know, it was a fun romp through the woods for me.
Yeah.
So, oddly enough, we fucking agreed that's going to be a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, that might also be the last one, I think, based on my list.
Probably.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll jump into the next one. It's John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. Shock, I know, it's weird, if you've listened to us before. And I love John Carpenter. So, when I found out that there was a John Carpenter movie that was about a Lovecraftian story, like pretty much a love letter to Lovecraft's like stories and vibe, I had to watch it, and I fell in love with it from the very beginning. Like, Sam Neill plays I think he's just an investigator. Like, we never really figure out what he exactly does. He helps deal with like financial like fraud and stuff of that for corporations, and so he has to go hunt down an author who's gone missing. But he finds like the keys to like the map to where he went, and it turns out that it's strangely enough, it's the New England town that he wrote in all his books. And so he goes down to this place with the editor of the author, and they just find a town of horrors that are being pulled straight from the pages of the author. And then you find that it goes deeper than that. And I just fucking love that movie because it's so Lovecraftian and so John Carpenter. Like, surprisingly, no, I don't think there's actually a lot of John Carpenter's like music, which I really like the synth music or his themes. But yeah, it's just like, it has so many good lines, like, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" just before the guy blow the guy away with a shotgun. And like it also, like, it was a time before like CGI was a big thing. But the effects, the visual effects of it, of like ripping into the gateway, into the void beyond, and then like the giant like animatronic abomination that comes out is just amazing. So yeah. I loved In the Mouth of Madness, guys. You should check it out. Oh no, it does have a rocking theme at the very beginning by John Carpenter, and it's like the whole rock theme is just done up to the backdrop of books being published. And I didn't think that would be like an epic thing, but he made a fucking epic thing with that rock album.
John Carpenter, if he can make, if anyone could make something so like boring, epic. It would be John Carpenter's music.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Well, number 4 for me is I think it's my only thing in here from the 2000s. It's Mama, and it was I loved this movie from the moment I saw like the first commercials for it. I was like, this is on my radar now. Went, saw it in the theater. I was like, fuck yeah, love this. Which surprised the ever living shit of me because, it was Guillermo del Toro produced. And I kind of have a fucking huge hit or miss relationship with that guy.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
I either hate him or I fucking love him. And I don't know, whatever his influence on this movie, it was just enough. Because we get to see the creature, because, I mean, I don't even know if it's a ghost story. Yeah, I guess technically it's a ghost story. About these 2 little girls who are, lost in the woods through fucking convoluted circumstances, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then, they're basically raised for, I don't know how long, a few years.
A few years. Enough that, like, they go feral.
Yeah, a few years by this fucking ghost in this, like, old cabin in the middle of the woods. And then they're found. And that's really when the movie starts, because, they're taken in by their aunt and uncle, and shit gets fucking real.
Yeah.
And probably one of the best bittersweet moments to end a movie that I've ever seen. And just, I'm a sucker for adorable kids in movies. And the 2 little girl main characters, their actresses, were just so fucking adorable. Even the feral one who would sooner rip your face off as hug you.
Yeah.
She's still adorable.
Yeah, exactly. Like when she's not like looking ravenous and
even when she is, it's awesome. I don't care.
Fair. Also, I like we did say, it's definitely a ghost story, but that's the thing about this movie. We're not really sure what is going on until later in the movie when you're supposed to like drop that bomb.
Yeah. It's just,
it's a similar thing.
There's a reason it's the most, it's the only relatively recent movie on my list, on any of my lists, pretty much, because it's so rare for them to get a good, a horror movie right these days. And this one, while being not necessarily, the story beats that you're expecting...
Yeah.
Well, at least when you're expecting them, it kind of offsets that a bit, but it also it does all of the good things right. It doesn't beat you over the head with the monster. It doesn't, just, have it on screen all the time, taking away all of the mystery.
Yeah, it's CGI effects.
You don't get a good look at it until the end, and it's, and
still
that
terrifying.
And it's a huge payoff.
Yeah.
And it's just... It's so good.
Yeah, the ending is just is worth the wait up to what happens, and even that journey is still awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy
it actually has
movie.
A good build up and then a pow at the end of it.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was one of those movies. I walked out of it and I was like, "This is my favorite movie of the year."
Nice. All right,
so, yeah, that's my 4 slot.
All right, so my next one. Someone doesn't I know, is going to be It Follows. So, It Follows is a very recent, 2016 or 2015 film that essentially is about a girl who gets a sexually transmitted slasher. A killer that no one else can see except for the people who had sex with the previous victim. And it's just this predator that just never stops. It never breathes. It never sleeps. It just keeps walking. It doesn't even run. It just keeps walking toward its target. and the only way to get away from it is to sleep with somebody else, so that the target changes to somebody else. The problem is once the last person has been killed by the creature, it then moves down the line of every other previous target. So so for me, this movie. There's several different things why I like it. I love the music of it. It's very reminiscent of John Carpenter's 80s synth horror music, which I'm already in love with. It's got a great build-up of atmosphere, of of dread, of dealing with this thing that just never stops. And you never know who it might be, because it assumes different forms. And it could be a complete stranger, it could be your best friend, it could be your mom. And as long as it's a way to get to you, closer to you, so that it can take you out. And just the twist on, like, the slasher flick, where it's actually an STD, because a lot of those slasher flicks, like, the motif is that, like, if you have sex or do drugs or whatnot as a teen, you're gonna get your slasher fodder. So I liked that twist on it. I also loved the twist of, like, for most of the movie, I was like, what the fuck time period are we in? Is this like a homage to the 80s? Like, everything is, like, analog and, like, nothing's digital, except for the one weird one is that there's this weird tablet somebody has that looks like a clamshell. But otherwise, like, everything else is, like, pretty, like, old school looking. Like, all the cars are old, all the buildings, all the housing. It's very drab. And then about halfway through the movie, I'm like, oh, this isn't really a homage to the 80s. This is just set in Detroit. And I don't know, that made it just that much more much more flavorful for me to see that. So again, a good setting, good atmosphere. I love the idea of the concept of the monster. And the ending is, for me, was a fitting ending for the story, because it actually, to me, this feels like a creepypasta made into a movie. So that's why I would recommend It Follows.
I guess that is my problem with it.
Yeah.
That, and there is one thing I gotta say. It's one of the things that you liked about it, about how, you know, like, in all of those older slasher movies, if you had sex, you were slasher fodder, or, like, if you had sex, you did drugs. Basically, if you
were the monster's food.
Yeah, you ended up getting... See, the reason I don't like that in It Follows, and this is just one of many, many problems I have with it, is that in It Follows, it's like, oh, you had sex, you're gonna die. Whereas they never say that in, like... I mean, I say never, but only Sif deal in absolutes or something.
Yeah.
Which sounds pretty absolute. But, yeah, in the older movies, they didn't say, if you have sex, if you do drugs, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
It wasn't until, Scream came around that you know, was a thing that
where,
people
like,
in the movies say. Yeah. And it was more subtle back then. Like, yes, the person who had sex, you know, premarital sex and did drugs, yeah, they fucking died. But no one ever told you they were going to die.
Yeah.
They just had the sex, did the drugs, got cut in half. And that's really the part that's missing from It Follows, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to bite my tongue on that.
Not for this one, yeah. I understand that, and I get you what you're meaning. Like, it definitely isn't, it doesn't stray from this, it goes away from the subtle, or, like, tone of it, that all those other ones.
Well, I feel... And for me, that's the problem with a lot of newer movies, is that
they're not subtle.
They don't give a shit about subtlety.
Yeah. My thing with this one is that I know it's a commentary on like on horror movies, on that trope. I enjoy that's the other thing that as a viewer of horror movies nowadays, I really enjoy, like, knowing the commentary, getting a meta commentary on, like, horror genre tropes. That's one of the reasons why Cabin in the Woods is also a favorite of mine. All my runners up. Spoilers. but yeah, like, I can see what you mean, like, why you don't like it. I don't mind what they did with it. So it's going to have, yeah.
Yeah, you disagree with me. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. So
I guess that's me. What are we up to? 3. This one, I love this one. It's a near and dear place to my heart because I saw this when I was, like, a wee fucking tot. And by wee tot, I mean I was, like, 8. maybe even younger. I don't know. But, and I fucking watched them out of order. Because I watched the second one, then I watched the first one, and then eventually, when I was a teenager again, I saw the third one. When I was a teenager again? Sure.
That works.
Works for me. And it's the Poltergeist movie. Specifically the first one, because for me the second one was kind of meh. And I'm going to talk about the third one later.
Yeah.
But, and, the fucking remake has nothing to do with anything in this video.
No. Not at all.
But if anyone's not familiar with it, I mean, it's for me, this is my penultimate haunted house movie.
Yes.
It's just, and I guess it's not technically a haunted house, it's a haunted little girl, but, like, the characters in this movie, are just, they're so good. We learn so much about them. I mean, even the bratty little brother, we get little snippets of his life, and the put upon older sister, we get, a look into her world.
We get to enjoy and love these characters.
We get to know the parents, and just everything. And then, again, I'm a sucker for an adorable little girl. Carol Ann is just the sweetest, most cheek-pinchable little kid in a movie ever, in my opinion. And just, it's so good, and no one dies in the entire movie. There is not a single death in this movie. And it's still, I mean, it never made me shit my pants, but it's a scary movie. It has its moments of like, grr.
Yeah, the visuals are not CGI. Did not have any CGI back in the day, but their visual effects are still hold up today as creepy and it's
that fucking tree, man.
That tree and just that scene where he's where
he's flossing and his fucking face falls apart.
Off. Yeah, yeah. Oh god, and then it turns. Yeah, exactly.
The effects in this movie are just fucking top of the line. Especially, I'm pretty sure this is the one that was 1982.
Yeah.
Sorry, I looked up a lot of movie release dates in the past week or so, and 1982, and the effects are just phenomenal. And I mean, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure this one is technically not credited to being directed by Steven Spielberg, but at the same time,
on board. I think
he's involved in it.
Oh yeah.
It might actually have been directed by him. But even if it isn't, his involvement, his fingerprints are all over this movie, and in all of the best ways.
Yeah.
Just so delightful, this entire movie. Start to finish, it's fun. It has fun moments.
It's got scares.
When these people realize that their house is haunted, they have fun with it.
Yeah. It's hey, watch this. Puts the kid down.
I mean, safety first. She's got a fucking oversized football helmet on.
And a couple. Did she have pillows or was that? I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, she's got a football
helmet on.
It's fucking they react like normal people because to start with, it's not dangerous. It's just weird.
Yeah, there's a sense of wonder, and
and they have the same reaction that most people would have. Oh shit! If I put something here, it's gonna slide across the fucking floor.
Yeah.
Let's see if it'll work with me.
Yeah. And whoop. Or and then when they first start, when the investigators come in and they start investigating the room, and you just see this, the small floating cyclone of
bedroom of shit floating around.
Yeah, exactly. It's just again for that period, that time period, it was really well done, and it's just oh, it's so beautiful, and then the horror starts to creep in.
Well, at that point, the horrors are because Carol Ann's missing at that point. But even because the investigators are holy shit, they're floored by it. But the people who have been living in this house, waiting for these people to get there, they're just this is a thing. This is life now.
Yeah, we live here.
I don't know. That just seemed so
kind of genuine
and spot on.
Yeah,
and something that you don't get in a lot of movies. With the supernatural, there's no sense of, for the most part, in most horror movies and shit, there's no sense of passage of time.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I mean, we're talking 1982, you had to get a hold of these people, then they, even if they're local, there's fucking schedules to organize.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, you know, like, there was a sense of passage of time, and these people just fucking lived in a fucking haunted house, and that was their life. And it was just, I don't know, it worked for me. It stood out as just a really fun thing, and the effects always, like, no matter what they do today, those effects still hold up, and that's just...
Like, it definitely holds... It's a mountain away from, like, up in the clouds, away from the new the remake that came out, that tried to emulate most of that movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're two very different animals, because the new one, first off, this is my huge beef with fucking remakes. It cuts a half hour off the runtime, and that half hour is 100% getting to know the characters before shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And that's always what they cut. And, like, if you're trying to make me, like, you're putting these characters in horrendous situations, but I don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
So I don't give a shit about what happens to them.
Yeah. Exactly. It kind of separated it from a lot of those horror movies from that period because, again, like movies nowadays, like a lot of slasher flicks and a lot of like monster movies or like horror monster movies and stuff like that that were really poorly done sometimes, like in that period, it was like, all right, so who's gonna die first?
Yeah,
like that was the kind of thing. Like that was the mentality. It's like that's the mentality that's held up all throughout like, decades. So.
And Poltergeist had the audacity to say no one dies.
Yeah, no one died. We saved we saved everybody, and we're getting the fuck out of that house.
Yeah, before it gets swallowed into a singularity.
Yeah. Oh God,
but yeah. It was a fun movie, and I mean, even the second one. I still enjoy. It gives you, like, I mean, it kind of rewrites the backstory a bit, but
at the same time, it still had some really good visuals.
Yeah.
Still had some really good story development because the characters are suffering still, like a little bit post Singularity House.
Yeah.
And then like they're having to cope with like other tragedies that happened during that movie. I think they go to stay with the grandmother, and then the grandmother passes fairly early on.
I don't
or something like that. But yeah, so like I
haven't seen the movie in a while.
No, yeah.
Because, I mean, I watched the first one for the most part, and then I'm fucking done.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, so it was like a nice...
It continued the story, but it did it bigger. It was more than the first one. I mean, it was everything a sequel should be. It just wasn't as good.
Yeah. Can't beat the first one.
Exactly.
Like, the first one, I feel, could have ended there. Well, and I would have been content. I mean, like, not had any sequels, and I would have been content.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It was good.
Yeah.
And to this day, you can still just watch it. I mean, that's another thing that baffles me about the fucking remake is this movie still holds its own. Why did you even remake it?
Yeah, exactly.
But, whatever.
Yep.
I bitch about remakes all the time. Yep. No one listens to me, except me.
Occasionally me, but...
Anywho, what's your number 2?
Number 2 would be Rec 1 and 2. Now, that's Rec as in record, not Wreck as in a train wreck. Although, some people... Anyway, Rec for me... So, Rec is a Spanish film, so it's... You can watch it either in a dubbed version or subtitled. I'd recommend the subtitle because the inflection's a lot better, even if they're speaking in Spanish. And... It follows this news crew who are following a fire department in their overnight routine, and halfway through the night they get a call to go to an apartment or apartment complex and deal with a disturbance. And so they go in and shit hits the fan pretty quick, and boom, zombies. Except they're not quite zombies. They seem to be possessed, like people that are getting possessed. They have like red bloodshot eyes. They're frothing at the mouth. They're like just even when you shoot them, some of them still get up and keep coming. The first movie and the second movie really honestly should be like they're part 1 and part 2 of the same movie because the second one continues at a different angle the same night and goes into the events of the first movie. So. That's why I recommend both of them, or I have both of them on my list. And you find out through this horror this haunted house, essentially, of zombies, as the characters try to survive, because they're quarantined in this apartment by the government. That up on the top suite, there was a man from the Vatican doing research on demonic possession and stuff, and that's where it kind of all broke out. And the story, it's just such... For me, this movie is one of my favorites because, A, it's kind of what rekindled my love for found footage films. And the other part being that it takes the zombie trope, the zombie genre of it, and gives us a brand spanking new version of it, like that I had not seen previously, where it was a biological or chemical version of a demonic possession that somebody was researching for the Vatican, and it got loose. But for some reason, it's somewhat still supernatural because the zombies get paralyzed when you start speaking scripture or start speaking from the Bible, like phrases from it. And like they are like when a reverend comes in, they are able to postpone and actually communicate with the demon that's inside of one of them. And it just goes crazier from there. But in this very hopeless, desperate struggle to try and survive this apartment where everything on all sides of you are attacking you. Like there's zombies, there's something supernatural up in the top suite, and the government is not letting you get out of this apartment alive. So I really enjoy the Rec series for spinning the zombie trope, the zombie films on their head, and giving me a reason for why zombies happen that I was not expecting. But yeah, so definitely the first two Rec movies I would recommend as one of my favorite.
Is that me?
Yep.
So this is actually where the surprises are going to start.
Yay.
Because my number 2, you probably expected my number 1.
Yep.
And this is the Hellraiser franchise. Specifically 1 and 2, but I mean...
You love all of them.
I love all 9 of the movies. I mean, even fucking Revelations. It was a good movie, I don't care. But it's... mostly because of Doug Bradley as Pinhead, which we didn't get in Revelations, but he was there from the start and stuck through in all 8 of the other movies. And his Pinhead is just so...
iconic.
So fun. Like, this guy has a disdain for humanity, but at the same time he seems to revel in humanity's, like, depravity. And he's so much fun. I mean, he gets a fucking monologue in pretty much every movie. And they're always just, for me, they're just fun little, observations about the human race. But the first movie is just, again, technically, effects-wise, it's how the fuck did they do that? Specifically, Frank's resurrection. Fucking just...
Yeah.
What the hell? And it's so gross.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so just good and gooey.
It was a very visceral experience.
It's just... It was fucking bad.
I will say, when you first lent it to me, for the first time I watched it, last year or 2 years ago, I was not expecting it to be as visceral as it was. I was like, wow, that is really gooey.
Yeah.
That is really gross.
It was really well done. And the second one, I mean, they got a bigger budget and they did more with it.
They expanded the lore a little bit.
They expanded the lore a huge amount. Like, we see Pinhead before he's Pinhead when he was a human.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just, I would recommend wholeheartedly, easily the first 2 to any horror fan. After that, they can get a little silly from time to time, and I mean, after the 4th one, apparently they weren't even originally supposed to be Hellraiser movies. They were written as other movies.
And then they got that on them.
And then they inserted Pinhead and some Cenobites, and there we go. We got a Hellraiser movie. And some of them were okay. I mean, in the 6th one, Hellraiser Hellseeker, they bring back the heroine from the first and second movie. They bring her character back and insert her into the story, and they bring back the same actress as well.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Which was fun for me. And just her interacting with Pinhead again after all these years, it was just fun. But yeah, Pinhead's monologue in every movie is just, it's why I watch.
Yeah.
The Cenobites, up until like pretty much the end of the franchise, the Cenobites are always fun and for the most part new. I mean, Torso in Hellraiser Inferno is just amazing. He makes me chuckle every time. I could honestly do a whole fucking episode about the Hellraiser franchise.
Maybe at some point we will.
Yeah, I mean, there's 9 movies to date, and yeah.
Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is, but yeah, I love them all, but 1 and 2, honestly, I think the second one is actually the better movie, basically because it was made pretty much at the same, well, not at the same time, but like,
right, the next year.
Before the first movie, basically, I think before it got released.
Oh, really?
They were making the second one.
Nice.
And yeah, which is why this is the humorous part, because in the second one, spoiler alert, they kill Pinhead.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how much of a fan favorite he was, because they hadn't gotten the reactions back.
That explains a little bit, yeah. Explains a lot about that.
And then he became the focus of the franchise, basically.
Yeah.
And
because Doug Bradley's performance, like we both of us know. I knew lines from Hellraiser before I even fucking saw the series. Before I started watching the.
Well, yeah, I use
movies.
them in general conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, even before you.
But yeah, Pinhead is just, I don't know, he's
there's a reason
great
he's an
antagonist.
icon. Yeah, there's a reason he's such an why you like see him in like tons of horror
and he's
magazines
not even
now.
necessarily the bad guy, in my opinion. I mean, he's a guy working a job.
Yeah.
His job just happens to be, taking people to hell.
Exactly.
And punishing those who deserve it. Or ask for it, as the case may be. His roles kind of change over between movies. But, yeah, it's, I don't know. Pinhead, his monologues, Cenobite designs are usually rather fun. But, yeah, Pinhead.
Yeah.
What's your number one?
Well, my number one, you actually stole
talking.
it. You actually stole my number one. Original Poltergeist movie. I actually recently watched it for Thanksgiving with family and was like, fuck, I forgot how much I love this movie. And how good it is. And so, like...
Actually, that's good, because there's something that we didn't even fucking talk about when we were talking about it for me, and that is... Fuck, I cannot remember her name, but the psychic.
Oh, yeah, Tangina, the psychic. She really made that movie too. Like iconic. Like again, like if there's one thing horror movies really do, it's make really memorable characters with really memorable lines.
Yeah,
like Tangina, this little short, elderly psychic woman, walks in and like, despite her physical stature, she has a presence.
Oh, yeah.
Like an acting presence and like a character presence, and she's got this motherly nature to her that's also really stern. Like, she knows what the fuck she's doing.
Yeah,
and they try to emulate it in the remake, and to bring up the remake, unfortunately, but they do not capture Tangina's whatever. Like, yeah,
they completely changed the character.
Yeah, they made him a fucking ghost adventure character.
They made him a him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I liked the.
I did actually,
if they were gonna make Tangina a guy, they actually
they chose the right actor.
Yeah, they cast the right actor.
Yeah.
He was really good. Yeah. But I mean, it was a failure.
Yeah.
From concept.
Like, they tried to update it so that they made it. Oh, it's a ghost adventure. Like, well, he's got his own show and stuff. And like, Tangina just walks. Like, they bring her in because she's a specialist. She comes in. She feels everything that's going on, and she cares right from the get go. This family.
Oh yeah.
This plight.
Her level of empathy. Honestly, if anything, it helps the audience's empathy with these characters.
Yeah. And like the most iconic line, it's like, "This house is clean."
And her voice.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it's
on top of her just being a powerful presence in these movies, she's also just, as soon as she comes on screen, bam, this movie just got fucking fun.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, like there's that. I still love this. Like, and honestly, when I was a kid, we watched this movie religiously because my little sister actually loved this movie as a kid growing up. Like, this was her favorite movie, not even, like, favorite horror movie. This was the one that kind of, like, when we were at the cottage, this was what we were watching most weekends.
And this is, that's one of the great things about it, because as a horror movie, it's, like, if you were a horror purist, you could almost say this is barely a horror movie, because no one dies, there's, like, no gore,
there's actually...
but even without that, it's still terrifying.
Yeah, like, again, as a kid, like, we'd watch it. I mean, yeah, we watched it a lot. We also didn't watch, like, go straight to bed afterward. Or we watched it during the afternoon.
We also didn't watch it a lot because our blankets were up over our faces.
Exactly. Like, now that I think about it, I think I remember most of the times we watched it was in broad daylight. Not at night at all. But yeah, like, just like recently when we went to watch it, we rewatched it for Thanksgiving. It was just like, fuck, this is a great movie. Like, I kind of wanted to watch, like I wanted to keep watching. I wanted to watch this one and then watch the next one. I actually had the next one on my list with this one, but I feel that this one is the stronger movie.
Yeah, and it stands
because it's the one I remember the most,
and it stands better alone, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Like the other one, like, yeah, it had some, like, interesting new directions, but it kept the same actors, same characters. It just wasn't as good as the first one. So, like, we've been kind of spewing for the last two versions of it. Yeah, I can't recommend enough. Go see Poltergeist, the original one. It's got to be out there on streaming sites or something, or streaming programs or something. I don't know if it's on Netflix, because I think the other one is, unfortunately.
No, the remake is, but
that pissed me off, actually, with Netflix. That's actually a little bit quick beef. I went to go see Halloween on Netflix, because I was, like, in the mood for, like, some old classic...
yeah, they've got Halloween 6.
Yeah, well, at the time, I saw Halloween. It had the cover for Halloween. It was not John Carpenter's Halloween.
Oh, it was
Rob Zombie's. And mind you, that one was interesting, but I really just wanted to watch the original one.
Yeah.
Because that Rob Zombie's one, well, it's fun. It's too much... There's too much backstory of Michael Myers.
Rob Zombie.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Like, Michael Myers... We know too much about Michael Myers' like...
And it's not even that I dislike Rob Zombie's direction. He's a good director, but honestly, I think the best thing he ever directed was when he wasn't allowed to make... Well, maybe not the best thing, but the best thing to come from him directing came about because he wanted to make the Texas Chainsaw remake, and they wouldn't let him, so
he House of a Thousand Corpses?
He made totally not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And, you know, then we ended up getting Devil's Rejects as well.
Which is a really solid movie, too. It's just like... It's a sick movie.
It's a better standalone movie than House of a Thousand.
Yeah. Actually, I've never seen
honestly, you don't need House of a Thousand to watch Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe. Because I've never actually seen House of a Thousand Corpses. I've heard tons about it, but I got Devil's Rejects for Christmas once, and
I saw House of a Thousand once, and back when it first came out, and it was basically just...
Yeah.
It was basically just Texas Chainsaw Massacre without... Like, instead of Leatherface, yet there was just a whole fucking family of fucking super weird people.
Exactly.
As opposed to a whole family of weird people and then super weird Leatherface.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just... Yeah, it was fucking Rob Zombied.
Exactly.
And it was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's just not what I typically look for in a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to the list... Jesus Christ, we're only on the top 5 favorite horror movies, not the guilty pleasures or runner-ups.
This might be a two-parter.
Original Poltergeist definitely gets my vote on that. For my first one. So
for your first one,
yeah, or number 1.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So now we're up to me.
I guess so. Yeah.
And this is the surprise, and I'm sure you're not actually going to be surprised because you know me well enough, and you know this franchise, because I got to do a whole franchise on this one. You knew this was going to end up on my list, and since I haven't said it yet, it's the Omen franchise. I mean, I don't even think I have to go into the plot here. So I'm actually going to just basically skip that because... Yeah, this movie is so famous. It's been parodied by everyone.
Yeah.
And it's a classic. For obvious reasons. It's a well-done movie. The second one is just as great as the first one, in my opinion. Fucking stumbles on the third one. Even Sam Neill couldn't save it. just because
Right,
it was poorly written.
That was the one where he was older, right?
It was just a bad movie, yeah. But then Fox goes ahead and tries to revitalize the franchise with a made-for-TV movie, The Omen 4, and it's a new direction while having more of the same, and it's so surprisingly good. And, like, the acting in it, for the most part, is pretty solid. And, I mean, it was made in the early 90s, and they bring some fucking, hippie crystal BS into the movie for...
Because of the 90s.
Yeah, because it was the 90s.
Trending.
But they made it applicable to the Omen franchise, and it was really well done. It was honestly... Because, I mean, when a franchise gets to the fourth movie, it's usually pretty fucking stale.
Yeah.
And this was not necessarily a breath of fresh air, because it didn't really need a breath of fresh air, but it got a breath of fresh air. And after the disappointment that was The Omen 3, the fourth one being as good as it was just so surprising. And then when I'm doing my research for this episode, I find out that it wasn't well received. And I'm like, what the fuck? How? I mean, don't get me wrong. You compare it to Richard Donner's first Omen movie, and yeah. No, it's not that. But that already exists. I don't need that.
Yeah.
What I needed was the fourth Omen movie, and it was, like, surprisingly good. And I mean, like, this entire franchise, this is, like, these are my Christmas movies.
Nice. I mean, I have Gremlins, so I can't complain.
I watch Gremlins too, but, like, these are my Christmas movies. I try and make it through all of them, to varying degrees of success from year to year, but, yeah, they're so worth a watch, and anyone who gets their hands on a copy of The Omen 4, fucking, you gotta watch it. You'll be pleasantly surprised. And that's just how good of a new concept they took. I don't know. It was a different direction for me. It was a different direction for the movies, and it was good. Also, I mean, there's a fucking convoluted timeline, because the movies are made within, like,
couple years
over so many years.
But then they time skip to...
Damien goes from, like, I think at the end of the first one, he's, like, 5-ish, 4 or 5. And, like, in the third one, he's an adult.
Yeah.
With his eyes on the presidency. So,
that's the
as it goes, the time of the first movie gets pushed further and further back. To where it's set in the 50s retroactively. So that the first one, well, it's never stated.
That's good, because, like, that...
it just kind of happens. Yeah. But, I mean, like, in the third one, he's an adult, and
trying to get into the
present. And it's the 80s.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, it's just, it's humorous.
Yeah.
And honestly, I never really thought about it until it got pointed out to me, and then I was like, that's hilarious. But yeah, just such a good franchise in general. I mean, with the final conflict being the weakest link,
yeah,
it is a weak fucking movie. But at the same time, it leads to the fourth one, and that's okay.
What kind of revival? Also, they didn't.
And then there's
was it remakes?
It was a remake. Yeah. And it got as far as the first movie, and it was basically a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was fucking fantastic.
And they launched it, I think, on like 666.
I don't know.
Yeah, they launched it on the 6th month, the 6th day of the 6th month of the 6th, 2006.
Regardless,
yeah,
it was a shot-for-shot remake. It was fine. Mm-hmm. And, where was I going with this? He's so rudely interrupted.
I'm sorry.
I know. Regardless, it was fucking... Yeah, it's just...
I mean, we could gush over all of our movies, like, over and over again, but then we'd have, like, a 4-hour show, so...
This
like, this as it is going to be a long one, guys. Since we've just hit the end of our top 5 favorites.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we just hit the hour mark.
Yeah. So, for runner-ups, do we want to do those just, like... quick and fast?
Oh, I thought we were just going to do them. Okay, yeah.
Oh, we can do... Oh,
yeah.
Like,
no, we can do them. Okay. I don't have these written down, so I might actually miss a couple, but yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna. How about we just do like one list at a time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
So yeah, for my runners-ups, I have the Blair Witch Project because while Rec 1 and 2 revitalized my love for found footage films, Blair Witch definitely started it because it's like a lot of people who got started on found footage films. I just love the direction and the horror, even though nothing really happens to them. The sense of something being stalked and being lost in the woods really got me. So that's that. Cabin in the Woods, because like I said earlier with It Follows, I love commentary on horror movies in horror movies, much like Scream even. So Cabin in the Woods was just a nice, like, while it could be debated, it's not really a true horror movie. It's kind of like a horror comedy. It's a horror commentary.
It's a satire. That's
the horror satire.
That's the same thing that makes Scream so fun, is because it's
a satire of the horror.
It's a satire of the slasher genre.
Yeah, whereas Cabin in the Woods is a satire of like Evil Dead and everything else, because they have this like some kids go to a cabin in the woods. Turns out it's more than it seems.
Your own thing.
Yeah. Right, sorry. So yeah, go check out Cabin in the Woods if you like commentary on horror movies. The Tremors films, and they make it on this runners-up because while they're not horror movies, they are still my favorites.
They're really good movies.
Yeah, they're still my favorites. I was contemplating putting Tremors 4 as my guilty pleasure because they try. It's not the best one, but they try. But yeah, the whole series as a whole is just super fun because they keep so many characters and they just keep developing the world, the lore of Tremors. Halloween, really the John Carpenter one, not the Rob Zombie one. Really enough said, like,
yeah,
the penultimate popular theme of John Carpenter.
An iconic slasher with Michael Myers.
Yeah,
an iconic theme.
An iconic victim, victim / heroine, heroine in Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
It's just, and like the small town setting is like, it's what inspired so many other slasher flicks and monster movies and stuff. And yet also kind of like, if you think about it, kind of reminds you of like those black and white 50s movies with like giant monsters attacking small suburbs. So that's that. Like Halloween, go see it if you haven't already. What's wrong with you? And then The Thing by John Carpenter.
Yeah,
not the prequel.
I don't even know how that didn't make it on the list. Honestly, probably because I don't own it, so I haven't seen it in a decade.
Yeah, the whole the horror of isolation and not being able to trust the people you work with, and just so many badass and just either badass moments and some lines it starts off with the guy playing chess on a computer and he keeps losing, so he pours his scotch into the machine. Is like, cheeky bitch. I just and then it just spirals into madness as they don't know who's the thing and who isn't. And by the end, and it ends in it ends so darkly. If this thing had gotten off of Antarctica, we would have been fucked.
It's a perfect storm of a movie.
Yeah, and The Thing, as well as In the Mouth of Madness, and another one called Prince of Darkness, are all part of John Carpenter's non-direct trilogy of apocalypse movies. Because also in The Mouth of Madness, I forgot to add this, that one is so Lovecraftian because there is no happy ending. Our hero sits down, watches a movie of his experience from the movie, because the author made the book, and the world is going to hell. The Lovecraftian creatures are breaking through into our world. People are mutating into them. And he just sits down and enjoys the movie and starts laughing hysterically while the world burns. But with The Thing, it's more or less an apocalypse that could have happened. And it's a great movie for that, for the horror of it. And so that's my runners-ups. All
right. Well, for me, the other front runner for a more current movie, or more recently movie, and this is honestly probably the only other recent horror movie I can think of that I actually liked, The Conjuring.
Yep.
It was a well done movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What else? Kind of breaking my Stephen King rule, but The Dark Half was just a really good movie. one of us has to give a nod to Alien.
Yeah,
Before the franchise became an action franchise,
it was a horror movie.
It was a horror movie.
On par with the Thing, kind of, because it was super isolation.
And it was good. It was fantastic. It was creepy. It's not the movie that I go to when I go to the Alien franchise necessarily, because
it's a bit of a slow burn.
Usually when I'm going for the Alien franchise, I'm going for the action and the guns and the fun.
Yeah,
and
the Cameron took over from Ridley Scott. Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic movie. Definitely got to throw a nod to the Psycho franchise. I know I kind of said no thrillers, and that's not.
But really... the runners-ups kind of.
Yeah, I'm bending rules just because
I threw Tremors.
There is no weak movie in the Psycho franchise. They're all good. The only weak Psycho movie is the remake.
Yeah.
And that's not even that weak because it's not as good as the original, and that's a problem with remakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all good.
Well, I think the major problem with remakes is if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. But yeah, that's a franchise that honestly should be on my list, but I only had 5 spots.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I don't want to again these top 5 are the ones that most stood out to us, but we have other movies that it's not to say that we don't love other movies that didn't make it off that list. I have a huge if I was to name off, I'd have a list the size of fucking Queen Street.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty obvious I'd throw Halloween on there, too.
Yeah, The Thing you said you would...
Yeah, The Thing. So many.
Yeah, I enjoyed Mama, too. I had other movies I had to choose from. It's like choosing your children.
Exactly, it's like Sophie's Choice. But yeah, I think that's probably... I mean, I know I'm missing dozens.
Yeah.
But in the cause of getting this over,
we still have the guilty pleasures, but these are
the Good Son. Again, it's more of a thriller than anything, but honestly, it's just seeing Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood it was good.
Nice. All right, so moving on from the best to. This list is serious business. There will be no distractions.
For me, yeah. I fucking jotted it down 3 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But I put months of thought into it.
Yeah.
And actual amount of research.
Yep.
So.